How is it in Paris right now?
Quiet.
Yeah, fair.
We're getting ready for next week. We open for business next week. So
Oh, nice.
Really?
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
Monday they're reopening.
So reopening everything?
No, not the restaurants, bars, and museums and gardens and stuff, but retail locations like stores and shops and all that can open Monday.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous.
How do you feel about that, Tanisha?
I'm not going out Monday, so I'm gonna just let them handle it. Let them be out.
Fair.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'll go out Tuesday or Wednesday and see what it's like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's still bad here. Our numbers are still, I live in DC and it's still bad here. It seems like every day I'm looking on Facebook and seeing that somebody else has it. Yeah, it's tough here. Maybe it's different in Maryland, different parts, but no.
The numbers continue to rise in Maryland. We have not hit a ceiling.
No, and it was great that he opened up parks and stuff yesterday because I'm a huge outdoor person. But at the same time, we get so many phone calls now at the winery. Like, oh, can we sit outside? Like, no, we're not a park.
No, you're in the essential service.
This is not how this works.
You're an essential service park.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what does that mean? And the unfortunate thing is that we produce a beverage that makes people pee. So whether or not they want to sit outside, they just have to come back inside to use their restrooms, which means another form of sanitation. So we can only have so many people in the building at a time. It's just another layer on top of it, as opposed to packing a picnic and going to the local park to sit down and then leave. Not quite at all the same thing.
You're right.
Have they given the vineyards any guidance? I know I spoke to Jane from Jane Mark.
Oh yeah.
And about a week ago, her and I were talking a week ago, and she was, at that time, they were still uncertain about what to do, because it's kind of like a restaurant. You can wear a mask in there, but you got to take the mask off to drink.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can't put a straw in. This is not how this works. Yeah. So, we can't do any consumption at all right now, obviously, right? So it's just to-go sales. When we open back up, we don't know. There's Grow and Fortify, right? Which is this overarching organization within Maryland that promotes craft value-added products, right? So they do the wine, the spirits, the beer in Maryland. And we were on a joint call with all of the 3 guilds together, and the beer guild, the spirits guild was like, oh, it'd be fine if you could take a straw or anything of it. And the wine guild's like, hell no! This is not how you enjoy wine. No. This is not how this works. So we don't really know. I think the next step is that we'll be allowed to have people on the property, but we won't be able to do tastings. So they'll be able to buy a bottle of wine and sit outside, but we still can't offer a tasting. For us, and we'll talk about this later as well, but for us, it's been difficult. We're a winery, and a lot of what we do is based on consumer interaction, face on face, pouring you the sample and telling you about how it was made and what the craft was and everything that goes with it. And instead, you get an online description, you click a button and add it to your cart. It's a pretty big disconnect about how you run a business and how you engage customers than how it's been in the past. And it's interesting to see the flip. It's you've had to go from a completely different marketing business platform in order to make this happen. It's definitely been a weird struggle. Yeah.
So that was a hell of an intro. Melissa, introduce yourself to everybody. Welcome to the Swirl Suite.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Okay.
No, I love it.
I'll just keep talking. I'm really good at this. All right. Well, my name is Melissa Aellen. I am the third generation winemaker at Linganore Winecellars. I guess what that means is that my grandparents started the winery about 43 years ago, and my grandfather was the winemaker until about 88, 89, when my dad took over being the winemaker. And now I've kind of taken on that role with our head winemaker, Ray Mitchum. So I don't do it all by myself. I have someone else to help me because I do a lot of other things too, if that makes sense. Yeah, so that's kind of me and what I do in a nutshell.
Did you always know that you wanted to be a winemaker?
So no, I always knew I wanted to work with my dad. Growing up, I really loved my dad. I knew I wanted to be near him and work with him. And the only, so Maryland wine is young, right? Like we're one of the oldest wineries. We've been around for 43 years. So growing up, there were only like 8 or 9 wineries in the state. And I'd go to all these festivals and offset events, and there was never a woman winemaker. So in my mind, at 9, 10 years old, women couldn't be winemakers. It wasn't a thing. There were none. So I wanted to be a secretary. When I was 9 or 10 years old, I was like, I'm going to be a secretary. I'm going to be my dad's secretary. I'll be there and I'll work with my dad and it'll be fantastic. And my parents were like, what? You want to be a secretary when you grow up? And my grandmother subscribes to this magazine called Wine Business Monthly. Huge magazine across the entire industry, right? And one day, Gina Gallo showed up on the front of Wine Business Monthly. And not every 10-year-old knows what the Gallo family is, but when you grew up in the wine industry, you know what Gallo is.
Yes.
So she pointed out, she's like, this is Gina Gallo. This is Ernest and Julio's granddaughter, and she is the winemaker. And I was like, she's a winemaker? And kind of from that point, I was like, oh, women actually can be winemakers. And then I changed my entire outset from being a secretary to being a winemaker, and found out that the only school on the East Coast that offers a degree in winemaking was Cornell University. And so I set my standards high, and I pushed and pushed all the way through middle school and high school. And I was accepted into Cornell in 2009, and I graduated with a degree in viticulture, which is grape growing, and enology, which is fermentation science, in 2013. So that
Very
was kind
cool.
of the whole thing, like start as a secretary, end up with a degree in winemaking.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I did a series on women in wine in Maryland. And we interviewed a couple of the owners and some of the winemakers, but it's still, comparatively, it's still not a lot of women. There's more activity, and you see at least more ownership, maybe not making wine, but they're in the tasting room now, but it's still not as big as you would think it would be in 2020.
Certainly. And I've worked in 7 different wineries, and in 6 out of those 7, I have been the only female on the team. And that's just kind of how the industry is. It is mainly 80% male, probably 20% female on a good day. But the thing is that I don't know how to say it, like kind of politely. The part of it is the job is very physically demanding, right? Like something on my resume says I can lift 50 pounds repetitively, right? Like that is something that I need to be able to do in order to make wine. Not every person can do that, and that's okay. But that's part of the job requirement, is you need to be able to stand every day. During harvest, I'm getting 20,000 steps per day, and constantly moving and constantly going and working 12, 14-hour days and doing it again the next day, and just keep going for 90 days straight. It's a long time. So there's a lot of demand in that physical aspect that not many people, and in some cases women, can accomplish. Yeah.
Yeah, it is
honestly, I kind of like being the only woman. It's really nice. But that's just me.
But then you know what I also started to notice too is that there are more women who are becoming the vineyard manager.
Yes.
And not just working on the sales and marketing, and that's a pretty demanding role too.
Certainly. Yes.
Yeah, that you know, I always tease people, if you want to get a good lower body workout, do pruning, do harvest. You will get that. You'll get those buns of steel.
That is certainly true.
Doing
I
that.
worked at a winery in Indiana, and all the winemaking staff was required to do all the young vineyard parts. So you put a grapevine in the ground, it only starts 6-10 inches long. You put it in the ground and you have to slowly train it up. So you have to bend down every week. You bend down to 6 inches, 10 inches above the ground, and like tie up a little chute and then tie up another little chute. And you keep going. So like the squats, really great.
Yes.
Gosh, this sounds so tedious.
Oh, it's very tedious.
And literally backbreaking.
Yeah, literally backbreaking. Yes. I've ended up with some super awkward tans on the back of on my back because of this.
So you had mentioned, Linganore's been around for a while, and if you ask people in Maryland, have you been to a Maryland winery? And they're like, yeah, I went out to the Caribbean Festival.
Right.
So now that like you are leading or have input on the winemaking process, are you forging a different path for Linganore?
It's always like my toughest question to answer. So the answer is kind of yes, but no at the same time, right? So we've been known for sweet wines. When the winery first started, my family only made dry wines because that's all that they drank was dry wines. But during that time in the early to mid 70s, people in the area, it was all Baptist. Like no one drank really anything besides dandelion wine. So we had these people come in and ask for dandelion wine. And my dad's like, what now? And he was so ashamed he produced it for these people that asked that he kept it beneath the counter so no one could see that he had it. And then they started asking for sweeter wines. And so we kind of like got into this market of producing sweeter wines and kind of took us into this path that we've ended up where we are today. The nice thing about the wine industry is that it's always evolving, that it's never constant and it's never standard. And so where we were 20 years ago to where we are today, heck, when I was 12, which was now 17 years ago, when I was 12, there were 12 wineries in the state. And now there's almost 100, right? It's completely like taken off in the past decade or so. And with that, you have an increase of consumer recognition and an increase of consumer quality demands. So we still make very high quality, well-balanced sweet wines, and we will continue to do so because we know there's a demand. People want local wines that taste delicious, that are easy drinking, and that are fun. But there's also people who want wines that they can sit down and have with a nice dry, hearty steak, or with a salad, or with some, chicken or fish that pair a little bit better with some of the dinner meals, if that makes sense. So Ray Mitchum, who I mentioned earlier, is our head winemaker. He started kind of forging this path back in 2014 when he joined on, really made a big stride in 2016. I came back in 2017, and together we've kind of been pushing it hard since then. We've won some fantastic awards throughout the country with competitions. We've been awarded wonderful scores from James Suckling on Albarino and Exposure and our Cabernet Franc wines we're all very proud of. So it's nice to get some recognition about those sorts of things that we're working hard to change the perception of. Yeah.
Well, I like the new branding of the labels.
Oh, thank you.
I like the new branding, and I like the Petit Verdot. Like I was really, I think a couple of years ago, you guys showed the Petit Verdot at the railroad.
Yeah, the winter wine.
Yeah, and it was very nice.
Oh yes, it is. It's one of our favorites. So Ray and I do virtual tastings every Friday now to try to engage people. We did a virtual tasting with Petit Verdot last Friday, and usually we stay after work and have a little bit of wine, but no one's opening wines anymore, so it's not happening as often. So we opened it for the first time in a while, like, wow, the Petit Verdot, this is great, we missed it. Back again.
So Leslie was telling me that you guys are working on an expansion.
Expansion, you mean the building we were building?
Yeah.
So when you build a winery, you never build it big enough, right? Because that's not how this works. So what had happened is that we had reached a point where we could bottle enough to kind of make it through a small period of time, but not a big period of time. So that new building we were building out the back that most people saw through the last 2 years is now fully up and operational as of like a month and a half ago. And it is a new warehouse. So it stores finished wine ready to go out to the consumer via either distribution or through our retail channels. So that is just for our like warehousing, but because of that, we were able to do a lot of renovation for where our old warehouses were. So our bottling line actually this is the biggest thing, is that our bottling line has had an expansion upon it because of this warehouse expansion. So we are going to be able to offer screw caps on all of our sweet wines starting in about a month. So
that's great.
Yes, yeah, we are very, very excited about that, especially for our festivals where we open lots and lots of bottles. It'll be a lot easier with a screw cap and take a lot of time and effort out of the entire thing. Yeah,
that's really smart.
Yeah. We can't wait. We're like, we've got the screw caps in, we've got the bottles in, we've got the wine ready. So we just need to get like the tech support to help us start up the line. So any day now, hopefully. Yeah.
So what's actually going on in the vines right now?
Oh man, so in the vines right now, well, there's several things. So we've had a really warm winter, right? You guys remember that. It didn't snow, it wasn't terrible, but it was just really warm. So on April 3rd, we saw our very first bud break, which is where that little bud kind of like bursts through the top part of the vine and releases a couple of leaves. And that's the very first part that happens. So that happened on April 3rd, which is about 15 days early. Usually it happens right between the 18th and the 20th of April. And so we were almost 2 weeks early at that point, which sounds great, right? So you have your grapes come out early, you have a longer growing season, you get more ripening, the grapes will be better, it'll be more delicious, all these things. Except then it got cold, and now we have frost. And in fact, we have 2 frost events coming up this weekend, one tomorrow night and one the night after that. So right now, all those little buds that came out almost over a month ago now have 3 or 4 leaves on them. And they're very tender and very delicate. And there's a very good chance that we're going to run into some issues this weekend with this cold temperature that comes through. And basically it freezes, it causes a burn, just like, freezer burn does on your food, causes a burn on the leaves. And obviously the leaves are burnt and brown. It causes them to die and they can no longer produce wonderful grapes. So there is a good chance that many, many vineyards in the area, and not just Maryland, I'm talking, this is going all the way down to North Carolina. There is very good chance that a lot of these vineyards will see some massive frost kill that can result in some extremely negative qualities in the fact that the plant will not be able to produce what we had it intended or hoped it would be able to produce.
Is there anything that you can do right now to prevent some of that? Like, are you guys using like big fans or something?
Fans? Do you burn fire? Do you have fire out there? Do you cover
right? Okay, so that's really common in Bordeaux and Burgundy is to use fires, right? So the whole idea behind frost is that it is this layer of cold air that settles and sits. And when it sits is the issue. If it keeps moving, it's okay. But when it sits, that's the problem. That's how frost is formed. So you can use fire, obviously, to heat up the area around you. You can use water and spray the vines because water only gets down to 32. It doesn't freeze below that, so it won't cause any more damage than 32. So that can help. There are some things that we've sprayed ahead of time. Copper can help prevent certain ice formation, so that can help as well. But the big thing that we have are these frost fans, and a lot of people see these vertical fans. They sit upright, and they rotate, vertically in the air. What we have are actually these horizontal fans. So think of a helicopter blade, something as big as a helicopter blade, but it only sits about 2 feet off the ground. And basically the idea is that it pulls air from underneath of it and shoots it up into the air. So it's like a reverse drain. It's draining the cold air and taking the cold air off the bottom of the valleys and throwing it up into the top, forcing the warm air up there back down to the bottom. So it keeps just circulating the air the whole night through. So let's see, we've got about, I think, 8 or 9 of them strategically placed throughout our vineyard in the lowest spots to help keep moving the air. And then my uncle, his name's Eric, he's the vineyard manager, and he'll be out there at 2 a.m. on Saturday morning and Sunday morning to come in and turn them all on and get them up and going in an effort to try to mitigate as much damage as we could.
They aren't those the big machines, like when you first drive in?
Exactly.
It's that big green machine
that is it.
Over, yeah.
Yep, that is it. That big green machine that sits there, that is our frost. That is one of them. We have many others that we move throughout the property depending on location and everything, but that one always sits there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually, so the year before we bought those, we had a frost event. And in order to like mitigate that frost before we had these machines, we hired helicopters to come out and fly super low.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Yeah. They call, I think if I remember correctly, they're like $200 an hour to come out and fly, and they're flying just, maybe I can't even say, like 20, 50 feet over the vines, just trying to mix up the air, right? They can't sit on the ground, but they move. So they flew out of Frederick Airport and flew down to us and went for 5 or 6 hours just trying to mix the air.
Wow.
And it was not nearly as effective as we hoped it would be.
No. Clearly, I gotta Google this and find video so I can watch one of these.
I know,
right?
That's crazy.
Yeah. But the fans are really cool. You can't hear them hardly. As soon as you make it up over the hill, they have very little noise. So the vertical fans that they call uprights, the ones that sit high up in the air, they make a lot of chatter. Like they're very loud. So when you have neighbors, they usually don't appreciate it because they don't want to listen to that at 3 a.m. Fair. I totally get it. So these have very little chatter. Like, in fact, we have a horse farm next to us and they don't even complain about it, which is great. So, yeah.
So once you survive the frost event, what's the next challenge? What do you worry about next? Is it deer? Is it birds?
Right, birds.
Yeah. So next up for us,
like what?
Yeah, the people. Yeah, we actually had one festival a couple of years ago where it was so rainy at the end of the day, and there was such a backup getting out that people started driving through the vineyard.
You are kidding me.
I am not kidding you. Like, they were stuck in the vineyard, and we had to go in with tractors and pull them out because people thought it was logical to drive through a vineyard row. And we had to cut vines out to get people out. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, you've got to be kidding me right now. Like, what am I doing?
Oh my God. Can they get arrested for that?
Right, exactly.
That's property damage.
I know. So our next biggest worry is deer. So deer really love, they like the grapes, but the very tender shoots when the grapevines are young, they love those. Those small, tender leaves that don't have any bitterness to them. They're just sweet and delicious. So they'll come in and like just pluck them right off the grape. And if you don't have any grape leaves, then you can't photosynthesize. The plant can't produce, and it just kind of stays stunted the entire year. We have installed deer fence around about 3/4 of our vineyards at this point. We have about 80 acres. So 3/4 of that is surrounded in deer fence. So usually we don't have too much of an issue unless we have a hole in the fence somewhere. Hot, humid summers, and that's a really good way to breed pests and mildew and disease and everything else. So the drier, the better. So 2018, when it rained all year, that was the worst year that we have ever had. But we've had, 2019 was one of the best years. It was pretty dry all the way through the end of harvest. Like, we couldn't complain at all. We don't really worry about birds until the grapes start to get ripe. Then we'll put bird netting up around to help prevent birds from getting in. So, yeah.
Wow. Oh, God. I would be so stressed out if I was a winemaker.
It is a lot of stressful thing in agriculture.
That's why I just drink wine. I don't have
exactly.
I would totally be with you on that one.
Much respect to y'all.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you for all you do for us.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
At your service.
For your service. Thank you.
It's not 8 o'clock.
Right here. This is essential.
You are our essential worker.
Oh, man.
So you started to talk about this earlier. You can continue on the adjustments that you guys have to make because of COVID and the social distancing.
Yeah, definitely. So it has been weird to only have 10 people in the tasting room at a time, and 4 of which are our staff members. So that's been very strange. It's been awkward to tell people, no, you can't sit on our patio and enjoy wine. You have to take that home. We actually had a customer call and ask if they could sit in the car and drink their wine in their car. And we're like,
What?
to begin, yeah, exactly.
They got
to
a bad
begin with,
home
that's
situation.
illegal.
Oh, man.
That is
Somebody,
a bad
that's
situation.
tough. That is tough, man.
That's a whole nother set of
Yeah.
issues.
That's a hard
You don't even
life
get
right
into.
there. That's hard.
Listen. And they went home and drunk it in the driveway or the garage. They ain't even want to go.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And I go to a park or something. I can't help you. I'm not sure what to say. I think, like I mentioned earlier, like the biggest adjustment has been taking your whole marketing platform, your whole business platform about consumer engagement, and being able to sit there and talk with the customer about this wine, about why it's special and why we view it the way we do and how we produce it and what it means to us. Like having this kind of emotional connection with the product, and then beating that and like explaining that to the customer. Like that's all, there's this huge disconnect now. You know, we send out thank you notes and stuff like that, but it's not the same as being able to spend time one-on-one with one of our servers who is well educated about the wines that they're pouring and can answer your questions and take a picture of you and your friends and, you know, all these other things. We can't do that anymore. And we miss people. It's nice to have people around. And like, for the most part, I'm an introvert. I don't mind talking about wine. I can do that for hours, but I do miss having people standing in the tasting room. There's something nice about watching people consume the product you make and you have passion about, and you see that they're really enjoying it. And all I see is boxes going out, right? Like I feel kind of like Amazon. Like, okay, well, there goes another box. I hope they like
But
it.
then that is a good thing. That's better than not seeing boxes going out.
Most certainly, yeah. So we have definitely seen our loyal customers really try to support us during this time. We have, you know, dozens of boxes that go out most days. It's really nice to see that. We see, you know, customers still supporting us in liquor stores and trying to buy local, and that's great too. I think people now more than ever are realizing how much the local economy actually means to their friends and family. I think it's easy to forget, you know, right? Like if you don't know where your neighbor works and suddenly your neighbor's unemployed because they work at a local company, like, oh, really? Oh, and you're unemployed too because you work at a local company? Oh, and you too? And you too? And like suddenly you realize how much of the economy and how much of their family and friends really are employed by small businesses. And I think people are definitely making an effort to try to support more small than they have before. And it's wonderful to see that as a small business, we have we're not hiring massive people from across the country. We're hiring local people that live here in Maryland that work with us every day. And we feel like we're part of their family as much as they feel like they're part of ours. So those have kind of been the adjustments. You know, we've offered some shipping deals. We've offered some virtual tasting packages. In fact, not tomorrow, on Saturday, we have a Mother's Day cocktail and brunch. So we're doing wine cocktails and brunch recipes. So that way husbands in the world can learn how to pamper their wife the next day on Mother's Day.
Oh, good.
That is very good.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we thought it was necessary.
Yeah. Do you guys have like a big plan for like well, you mentioned that like once we're at the next level of reopening, you're probably going to invite people to drink outside. You guys have like a big marketing plan, or you're going to have live music or something for that?
We kind of go back and forth on it. I don't think we've got anything set in stone yet, because I think we'll still be limited by the number of people we can have. And we already draw like a fairly decent crowd. So we don't want to overdraw and have to turn people away. So it's a really weird situation to figure out how you play it out exactly right. Because we were talking about food trucks, right? Most small businesses will put a food truck out front as a draw. Come here, buy this wine, get your food, go home for dinner. But if we were to advertise a food truck, like we could be in a lot different situation where suddenly we've got hundreds of people that now we can't control, because we can still only let 10 people inside at a time. You know, we don't want to be a Costco or Walmart. We want to be able to treat each person the way that they expect our customer service to be.
And you guys have a wine club?
That makes sense. Yeah, we have a wine club. We have our release is coming up in the beginning of June. We've got it's 3 wines for each club released 4 times. So it ends up being a case over the course of a year. Yep, but we've got a wine club. It's free to join, and usually there's special events. Like we had a brunch with a local restaurant that did all these pairings back in February. We were going to have a movie night, which obviously we can't do anymore. So we've been trying to think of like other ideas and how to engage people in this virtual age. But yeah, we've got a wine club, free to join. You get a 15% discount on all your wine purchases, and yeah. It's a lot of fun. I like the wine club members. They're passionate about our products, and it's nice to sit there and talk to people. Like, plus, when you show up for brunch, you get free breakfast, so it's great.
Oh, winning. Yes.
All right. So this is the second part of our show where we get to know you a little bit better with some random questions. Okay. What was and this is for everybody. Everybody's going to answer these questions, actually. What was the last item you ordered online?
Honestly, yesterday I bought a new server for the winery. That was my last thing I ordered online. It was not really fun.
Practical.
Yeah, it's very practical. We need it. But more fun than that, I recently bought a jigger and a cocktail shaker for our cocktail class.
Ooh,
nice.
Online via Facebook from a local store in Frederick. And she went into the store and took pictures of the items she had, called the kitchenette. She took pictures of the items she had and then sent me the pictures, let me know the price, and I paid her via Venmo. And it was fantastic. So that's support awesome. Local, even though you are stuck at home.
I love it.
Very cool. I ordered my mother flowers for Mother's Day.
Hey.
Ah, nice.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's very special. Tanisha, what about you? Oh, can you even order anything? Can you receive anything?
Yes, I hope so. I ordered wine. It's what I ordered online yesterday. And the day before that, I ordered some art for my walls because I'm so tired of looking at these empty white walls. So those are my last 2 purchases. Yeah.
For me, I actually just ordered a few things today from Amazon. I ordered a whiteboard for my office.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Okay. And just a big old digital clock that says the date, the time, and the day of the week, because I can't remember.
Because it doesn't matter right now. It's all it literally doesn't matter.
Right. I think
today could be Tuesday, Saturday, or Monday, whatever.
Yeah.
It's any day.
Okay, next question. What historical figure would you like to be?
Meat or B? Which one did you say?
B.
B. Ooh.
Oh.
Jeez. I'm probably gonna say Harriet Tubman because she was not taking no
you
mess.
You want to be Harriet Tubman?
Oh my goodness.
She was shooting people and she was just freeing souls. And she was just freeing people. I mean, who doesn't want to free people?
That's some hard work.
I ain't got it in me.
Absolutely hard work.
It's like ranking up there with the winemaker.
Yeah, right. Man.
Ooh.
That is a good question.
I mean, I'll probably think about it more and later on be like, oh, I should have said this, but that was the first person that came to mind. Somebody who just went hard for the cause. So
I feel like I'd probably like to be someone like Albert Einstein or someone like that, be able to take the brain capacity that happened back in that generation and be able to put it into kind of our current circumstance and see how it would solve and deal with the problems that we're dealing with today.
Nice. Now that is a well thought out answer.
It sure is.
That is. Sarita, what about you? Because I'm still thinking about mine.
Okay, so I feel like I would want to be some sort of artist. Oh, is that my mic? Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. I would want to be somebody from the Harlem Renaissance. Just in that time when everything was cultural and Black and jazzy. Nobody's coming to mind right now, but yeah, I would want to be somewhere up in there.
Yeah, I was thinking not to, dovetail on yours, but I was thinking Billie Holiday.
Oh, nice.
Like,
Ooh,
to be honest with you,
They had hard lives.
you know what? I am happy being a woman now. I cannot imagine.
And we talk about it's hard now. No,
I
that
know.
was hard. Okay.
Yeah.
That was hard. And I was listening to what's his name? Okay, so Willie Geist on Channel 4.
Mm-hmm.
On Sundays he has the Sunday sit down. And he interviews celebrities or, thought leaders or what have you. And then he says after the interview, if you want to hear more of the interview, you can go to my podcast. So this weekend, I just was binging on his podcast, and he interviewed Aquafina.
Mm.
She played in Ocean's 8. And so her mother died when she was 4 years old. So her grandmother raised her. And so Aquafina tells the time where she first started menstruating. And her grandmother hands her a belt. There's belts.
Nope.
And the pads with the big wings, what have you.
Oh my God.
And I was like, that was not long ago.
Right. I'm like, is this in the 40s? Like, Aquafina's around now. Like, what?
Yeah. So her grandmother was obviously much older. First of all, I don't even know where you can find pads that don't have any adhesive to it nowadays. But
also, has her grandmother never seen a commercial? Like, there's commercials for it on TV. Like of women playing tennis and like jogging, and then they show like a regular one with adhesive. What?
Oh my God. So
I say that to say I'm really happy being a woman now.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of the things that women had to deal with before us. Thank you for your service.
Or maybe that's your historical figure. Whoever created those, whoever invented that is whoever invented the adhesive on them and the wings.
Yes. You know what? That is revolutionary. Like people think fire, light. No, the adhesive on maxi pads.
That is it right there.
Right. So clearly this show is for women, in case anyone was wondering. This particular is the ladies' show. It's the feminine side. All right.
Okay, next question. So, what snacks have you consumed the most of in the past few weeks?
Chips.
What kind of chips? Like just regular plain chips?
Salty chips with ridges. It's this store here and I like their ridged potato chips. So I just get the store brand because they're salty and I love them. So I either eat them plain or I do sour cream with the ranch powder, the Hidden Valley Ranch packets. I have some of those.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I make a little sour cream dip and then the sour cream ranchy dip and I dip them in that. Yeah, that's been the number one snack.
That sounds good.
That sounds really good.
Yeah.
Microwave popcorn is coming in at a close second.
Yes. Yes.
But since the borders aren't open and nobody can come back over here anytime soon to bring me any more, I'm trying to ration it now. Because I was like, oh, wait, I could get more. But then I'm like, no, I don't know when anybody can come. So
that is I've been making guacamole. Like,
oh, girl.
Like as if nobody will ever grow another avocado. I have been eating guacamole like crazy.
Oh man, I have this thing for tortilla chips. I can't get enough of them. But I don't buy them for myself because if I do, I'll eat the entire bag. So my friends at work know that when I'm really stressed out, they bring me tortilla chips. But I bought my own, and I've got this weakness of eating tortilla chips and like the fanciest cheese I can get at the local common market grocery store. So I've got like this super fancy brie on top of tortilla chips. That is my snack food.
So I'm gonna act like I didn't hear the last part, but yeah, the tortilla chips.
Yeah, right.
Oh.
So,
what are you eating?
I have many problems with snacks right now.
Rita probably eat something healthy. Like I'm just snacking on granola.
No,
no. Quinoa. I had the quinoa chips.
Nope.
Right. Like I just have to roll in the bowl, and I've been eating grapes.
So, okay, I admit 75% of the time I eat healthy, But that other percent, listen, it's not even just me, it's me and Alan. We have a huge problem with Cheez-Its. Huge. The box will come one day and be gone. Gone.
Mm-hmm.
We were on we're in this like little couples group or whatever, and we had a couple Zoom, and it starts at 9:30. So just imagine you make a big picture of whatever margaritas or whatever, and you got this box of Cheez-Its. It's gone. It's gone.
Oh, that's done.
Done.
Margaritas make you hungry. I don't know what it is.
Oh,
so and also guacamole is an issue. Guacamole, and I like blue corn chips. And then lastly, for my little sweetness, guys, Trader Joe's has these ice cream sandwiches. Holy mug. They are, okay, so it's like chocolate cookies, right? And they're like tender. And then the ice cream is coffee. Come on.
Oh.
Come on.
Oh.
Cannot
They don't
complain.
want you to win. They want you to be addicted.
But
they did that.
the good thing is they are really tiny. So they're like maybe
Like palm of your hand tiny?
they're smaller
Or like
than
your
a palm.
whole hand tiny?
No, smaller than a palm. So they're small.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can
eat
one.
like 5.
No.
And you feel like it's okay.
That's what I'm thinking, Tanisha. Like, oh, then you just pop them like grapes. Because
Right.
it's so small.
Like
So
the
I'm gonna
last
eat
time-
the sleeve and it's fine.
The last time I went to Trader Joe's, they weren't measuring like how many people can come in yet. So there was no lines outside. That was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I bought 4 boxes. That's how, like, we're eating one a day. It's a problem. It's a problem. Anyway, so.
Listen. Times are hard right now. You gotta
Listen,
be comforted. And
Listen.
the
Yeah.
blue corn chips and coffee, ice cream with chocolate cookies is what's doing it.
Yeah.
There was
No
this
problem.
video, I have to send it to you, where this woman, she's in this classroom and it's reacclimating her to the real world afterwards. She's like, you need to. So the teacher holds up a pair of pants and she goes, "These are pants." And the woman's like, "Where's the elastic?"
Like, it's no drawstring. This is stupid.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, I think
gosh.
we're going to all have that type of.
Yeah.
But you gotta put on jeans or like regular pants
Yes.
at least once a week just to make sure everything's still okay. Cause you're gonna mess around and have your feelings hurt thinking all is well in the kingdom with them jogger pants you've been wearing. Them leggings are stretching with you, so you have to put on something from your past life just to make sure all is well.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
man. Okay. Next question. If you could live in any TV or movie house, which one would it be?
Ooh. I would want to be on the Cosby Show.
Yeah, it's cute. That's a cute little.
Yeah, I still would
house.
want to be. I mean, I wouldn't drink anything around him, but I would want to be on the Cosby Show.
Girl, what in the world just happened? Oh my God. Mine wouldn't necessarily be a house. I like Ghost Apartment on Empire. I mean, not Empire. On Power, Ghost Natasha's penthouse apartment.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the close second is Olivia Pope's apartment on Scandal.
Okay.
Oh,
I got you.
yeah.
That's a nice one.
I really like her
Nice
place
one.
looks so cozy, and I mean it was all cream and beiges, and I drink a lot of red wine, so I don't know how that will work out. But the
Yeah.
place was super cute. Like her, it was nice.
For me, the first one, surprisingly, I thought of was Mrs. Doubtfire. You remember the family house? It was in San Francisco. It was on the hill. The house was so cute.
Yeah.
And this other house was, y'all seen the movie What Lies Beneath?
Yeah.
I did, but I don't remember.
Well, it's a big house. I don't know where they were, but it's on a lake.
Okay.
And it's a really pretty house. Google it. It's really pretty.
Okay.
But yeah.
Also,
So
for
they-
houses, I like the house on Ozark. Like their house.
Oh, their house
That
is so
is
cute.
nice.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen it yet. I really want to watch it.
Oh, you should. Once you
Melissa.
start, you're not going to be able to stop.
You are not.
Do it when you
Yeah.
have some time. I'm gonna
so
watch
good.
one episode and then go
Yeah.
live my life. No,
Yeah.
you're not.
You're not. No.
Right.
No. Yeah.
You need at least time to watch 4 episodes to start. So just brace yourself.
I feel like for me, like I really enjoy the outdoors. I've never really lived in a city, but if I had to pick one that's like commonly well known, I'd probably say Monica's apartment in Friends.
Oh,
I
cute.
felt like it was
That's a
Yeah.
fun answer.
Yeah, it was like super nice.
Yeah.
If I had to pick something else though, I don't know if you guys have seen The OA on Netflix. It's
What's
like
that?
another. It's a sci-fi-ish kind of show.
That's where you lost me.
Yeah, fair enough. But they have this like cabin kind of in the middle of the woods, which seems really picturesque. And I was like, oh man, that'd be really nice. I'd live there. But I think mainstream, I'm gonna go with Friends, Monica and Chandler.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I like that. And it's so crazy how her apartment looked, and then Joy was right across the hall, and then how that place looked.
Right.
Right.
Very, very different.
Yeah.
Very different.
Like you really got the short end of the stick, Joey. Yes.
Okay, last question. What's your go-to meal to cook?
Oh, girl.
When I don't want to have to think about cooking.
Yeah, what's your
right?
like?
That's when I order
it's
delivery.
Yeah. For me, it usually happens far later than delivery is still available. So usually, recently, it's been a box of macaroni and cheese because comfort food. But I pair that with wonderfully frozen Chinese dumplings.
Huh.
Okay.
All right, that works.
Because why not?
Right.
I mean, why not?
Why not?
I make if I don't want to cook at all, a bowl of granola cereal always does the job.
Really?
Huh. If I don't feel like cooking, I'll just fix me some cereal. But like the go-to easy for me to do is like pan sear some chicken thighs and saute spinach. And it's done.
That sounds good.
Tanisha, you got one?
I don't, and this is hard because I don't have a go-to. Like
you don't have a go-to since you've been home.
I've been cooking like different stuff, but I think my go-to since I've been home, the easiest thing is like fried rice. Throw some vegetables in the pan, shred up some meat or whatever, and then make that. That would be my go-to now, because I always have some vegetables and I always have rice.
I like it. So mine is a little weird, but it's not too bad.
Yours is gonna be some gourmet.
It's not. It's not. It's really not.
It's like seared foie gras with a side of shrimp.
It's not. So
and shrimp scampi with a glass of crisp, refreshing white wine.
I happen to be I got two things. Okay, my first one is I am like the family greens maker. So don't you know, in the family, who making the greens? That's me. That's me. Okay.
Oh, is that so?
It is. That it is. But my I call this like my I don't feel like it's struggle meal. So it's a sweet potato, right? And I cook it in the microwave, wrap it in saran wrap and cook it for 30 minutes on one side. Not 30 minutes, sorry. 3 minutes on one side and then 3 minutes on the other side.
I was about to say, your microwave go for 30 minutes. What?
And then I chop up mushrooms and I split the sweet potato open, add mushrooms, and then top it with a fried egg. That's it.
Really?
Yeah. It's
I'm doing that this weekend.
It's like sweet, savory, really and like all these different textures. And then I've added kale sometimes. I've added spinach, like whatever I have in the house. But I just sort of build it together and that's it. I got it from Pinterest years ago.
And you saute the mushrooms in just like butter or olive oil? Like
whatever. I mean, mushrooms, they're so savory. You can just, whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is true. I'm just making sure because, I have to ask you it's a question.
Yeah, I'll do something. Yeah, sometimes I'll do something like that in the morning and I'll dice the sweet potato first and throw it in the microwave with some water to pre-cook it, and then I'll put it in a skillet and kind of brown it, and then crack an egg over top, throw some veggies in there, call it a breakfast.
There it is.
It's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a sweet potato. Oh, y'all playing. I'm finna go get some sweet potatoes.
I know. I didn't think, I was like, I'm sitting here going, I got one.
That's all you need, just one.
Yep. That's it. Well, those are all of our questions. Melissa, thank you so much for being on this Roast
No
Week.
problem. Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Before you go, tell everybody where they can follow you and Linganore Winery.
Sure. So you can find Linganore Wines on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, along with Linganore Wines, that's WINES, then S at the end of it, .com. You can follow all of our updates for the coronavirus and everything else we've got going on.
Thanks again.
Excellent.
Well, stay
You're
safe,
welcome.
and we hope you guys open soon.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Keep the people drinking.
Cheers.
Cheers to you guys.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm loving it.
Wait, what is it?
Savannah.
The
Oh,
banner?
Savannah. Oh, yeah, I've had that.
I love it.
Did you drink the whole
That gave
bottle?
me an idea. I got stuck in a wine rut and was drinking like the same 3 things.
Really?
Yes. And so I went to the store today and got a Chenin Blanc. So that's
What
a
3
little.
things were you drinking?
Yeah.
I was drinking a bunch of stuff from Languedoc. So like reds from Languedoc
Okay.
or from the Rhone, like Côte du Rhone Village, a bunch of Minevois or Corbière. Like I was stuck in like that red wine thing.
I like your rut though.
That's a hell of a rut to be in.
Right, exactly.
That's great. But I'm like,
drinking
okay, drink some rosés, drink some whites.
I'm drinking sparkling Tokai.
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
It's so good. It's really good. Leslie, there is a wine shop in Bowie that's next to the Harris Teeter in Bowie.
Yes, it is. I know.
That's my favorite spot now.
Mhm.
Because I feel like it's low key. Nobody like knows about it. It's nothing
No,
but white
and you
people in
can
there.
go- Yeah,
Be all the way out
exactly.
there shopping.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. I went once, and
can't go
I
back.
try to rack up when I go, because I know I don't be out in the sticks that often. But they have an intense sparkling wine selection, and it's never anybody back there. And every time I walk out with my order, this guy's like, "You found some good stuff." I said, "I sure did. I sure did."
They do. And you know, you can sit at the little bar and drink.
Well, not now, but yeah, I've never done that before though.
You can, and they have those machines.
So you can play the lottery.
No. You know, the by the ounce machine.
Oh, you're talking about
By
Mono
the
Tap.
bar. No, not video poker.
Slot machine.
That.
Like a slot, like Vegas. Vegas, right? It's like Vegas. It's fine.